Welcome to another edition of the Extra Point Show. I am your host, Nick Rice. On this week's Extra Point, we have stats, highlights, and analysis of maybe the greatest week in the history of this league. 5 games went to overtime with so many incredible performances. We begin week 5 in Denver, Colorado. 2007 Patriots, 1998 Broncos. Both of the quarterbacks played well, but unfortunately for Denver's John Elway, he did not drive the Broncos for the touchdown which would have won the game late in regulation. That set the stage for Tom Brady, whose team won the toss to begin overtime, and he drives him right downfield for the game-winning field goal. 412 yards passing for Brady, one of the great performances from a quarterback we've seen this year. 1998 Vikings, 1999 Rams. Another game that went to overtime, and this one was an instant classic. Minnesota had no business forcing OT as Andrew Glover grabs the Cunningham touchdown on the final play of regulation. Vikings, ironically, won the toss but couldn't do anything on their overtime possession. Meanwhile, St. Louis marched the distance that was 72 yards, capped by a Warner touchdown to Ricky Proehl. St. Louis is now 4-1 and tied for first in the NFC West. 1998 Falcons, 1989 49ers. This was a wild football game once we reached overtime, as Atlanta's Chris Chandler and San Francisco's Joe Montana both threw interceptions. Both of his kickers missed field goals in a sloppy OT. Won on the final play of overtime in the final second to avoid a tie on a big kick from Mike Kofer. As we see in overtime, while both teams committed turnovers, the Niners had a slightly better performance on the offensive end. 49ers win the game by a field goal. As you can see, there were some incredible performances throughout the course of Week 5, but Charger Dude 95 has just 2 game balls to give out. Here is the offensive and defensive players of the week. Another great football game and another great performance in the league this week. Houston's Arian Foster wills the Texans to a huge win in Glendale against the Cardinals. What a performance on the ground from Foster, who was one of the league's best running backs as a Pro Bowler in 2011 and one of the league's best running backs here for the greatest team season. Pittsburgh linebacker Jack Lambert helped will the Steelers to yet another win, their 4th of the year. 2 tackles, 2 interceptions, 1 brought back for a score, was part of a Hall of Fame day from one of the best linebackers in NFL history. There are some tight division races early in the greatest team season. We begin in the NFC South, where Carolina remains the last team in the conference without a loss this year at 4-0, but they play Tampa this coming week on the road. A team that's won 2 straight, and the Bucs is now just a game and a half back of Carolina for first, and there's New Orleans right behind them at 3-1. Every team in the NFC East lost this week, so we do it all over again with Dallas and New York tied atop the division at 2-3. It should be noted the Cowboys earned the head-to-head tiebreaker with their Week 2 win on Sunday night over the Giants, and who knows, by the time they play again in the Meadowlands, they might be 2-10. So it's an incredible start to the year for how bad it's been in the NFC East. It's going to be hard to top what happened in Week 5 of the greatest team season, but we move forward to Week 6 beginning this Sunday. Week 6 of the greatest team season features 4 division games. Monday night is on the bottom right, Denver and San Diego. Sunday night is Chicago and Atlanta just above them, and a total of 14 matchups for Week 6 of the year. Dallas, Indianapolis, Miami, and San Francisco are on a bye this Sunday. 2015 Panthers, 2020 Buccaneers. Kudos to anyone who predicted Carolina to be the last unbeaten team in the greatest team season. The Panthers are 4-0 with some nail-biting wins, but in every game there's one common theme. Look at the bottom ticker. Carolina's winning the turnover battle this year. +6 for them. Meanwhile, the Bucs are -10, dead last in the league. It seems almost a requirement. If Tampa wins the game, they're going to need to win the turnover battle. Tom Brady, you'd think at some point he'd win the turnover battle. 7 interceptions for the Buck quarterback this year. 1990 Bills, 1968 Jets. Buffalo's leaned on the services of Hall of Famer Jim Kelly this year, one of the league's top 10 passers with over 1,100 yards. This should be a game with perfect conditions, weather expects 62 degrees and no wind in the forecast, so both Kelly and Namath, the Hall of Fame quarterbacks, should have no problems throwing it downfield in this one. This game played at the Jets, where they just knocked out the previously unbeaten 72 Dolphins. It should be a great game for Week 6. 1986 Giants, 2009 Saints. As we saw in the division breakdown, New Orleans is just a game back in the NFC South, and they could certainly make some noise with a win against the Giants at the Superdome. Phil Simms is playing better than expected to start the year. Meanwhile, Drew Brees hasn't quite hit his stride despite a 75% completion rate. We'll see how this one pans out in a must-win for both teams in an effort to win their divisions. And that concludes the Week 5 Extra Point Show, one of the greatest weeks in the history of this league. Until next week, make sure to visit DreamSeasonFootballLeague.com. That is DreamSeasonFootballLeague.com for stats, highlights, news, and all the information you need from the Dream Season Football League. And until then, I am Nick Rice, and this is the Extra Point Show.